Mic check, mic check, mic check. All right. Today's going to be interesting. And I'm going to do I call it a restructure of the pod. I'm not sure what I want to call it, but it's going to be I don't even know what to call it. It's not a podcast. It's a live stream that I do randomly. I tried to schedule myself, but I ended up doing a whole bunch of jobs. So schedule was all over the place. And so now I just know I'm going to be more consistent with at least going live at least 2 or 3 times a week. I may schedule them out, I may not, but hopefully y'all are around. Yeah, I need some more water. And plus, I think as I look at the landscape, I think podcasts are peaking. 2 cents was goody. Top of the morning, top of the afternoon to you, wherever you are in the world. I think podcasts are peaking, and it's only so many topics and thumbnails and titles and background settings and structure and reels and edits and click things you can do from one podcast. It's all starting to look the same. There's a few standouts, obviously, right? There's always somebody standout that's going to break the mold and do a little more than everybody else, whether it's a different perspective or depending on drama or what kind of stuff you displaying on your show or pod or whatever. But for the most part, it's all the same. And I think that the way I want to do it is I don't want to have that structure. I don't want to deal with that kind of structure. I think the key to doing that is stop thinking about the money part per se, or what you can make, or the if you can turn this into a revenue stream or not. Which you can, no matter how small or big that number is for you. But I think if I stop looking at it like a revenue stream and maybe it's something. So I say all that to say, the way you look at how you want to get paid or who's getting paid, what's the landscape saying, then you'll find yourself doing something that you probably don't want to do or is against your beliefs, your moral stance, all these things. So I don't want to get caught up in none of that, right? I don't want to get caught up in like, oh, what's the latest drama? And then I have an episode and I'll bring somebody on who cuts somebody else out, and then we back and forth with the drama. And though I might get clicks and all that, and but things can go viral, somebody fighting on your show, that can be a thing. Or you said something wild and crazy against a whole community of people or against the grain of the trend of what's going on. That might be a thing, but is that something I really want to do? Nah. No. And then maybe I'll suffer a little bit in that because we know how drama sells, and if you get involved in all the stuff, excuse me, if you get involved in all the things, then you can be a part of like the rounds. You go with the rounds, like your stuff can be in rotation of whatever. All the podcasts going around, they talking about your stuff, they clipping you up, they doing all that, which should be cool in a certain sense, but at what cost? Maybe I think maybe it's the pride thing, right? The pride won't allow me to proverbial like kind of like stoop so low. So how do I make it to where I don't feel like that, but also it's my community or my space, my live stream here. How does it grow? You know what I mean? So I think if I just maintain and go the route that I'm on, then it can grow. And it can be in that space of like, I did it the way I wanted to do it by nobody's standards. And it was the real me, whether it was real stories, whether you see me on here laughing and joking, whether you see me hold a heavy topic, hell, whether you see me break down from stress, depression, cry, whatever the case may be, you know when you got here, you got the real me. You know what I mean? And by those standards, I can live with that. I can live with if this whatever this is live stream is going to be successful or a failure. Um, with me showing up as myself, I can live with that. What I can't do is somebody telling me I've been talking to some people and people have their opinions on what I should be doing creatively, and they don't mean it no harm, right? Then people are just like, "Yo, you got something dope," but if you just do this, or if you just do these kind of topics, or man, if you talk about that one thing that's hot right now, if you talk about that, and I'm like, yeah, that's but what sets me apart from every other live stream or podcast or whatever? What sets me apart from everybody else? If I'm doing the same topics and the same reactions that everybody, what makes what makes your experience here different? You can go see. There's way more famous people. There's there's way more handsome people, way more famous people, way more funnier people, way more people who spend a lot of money, got really fancy sets and lighting and sound. There's way more people that you can get into if you just want that, right? But if you want luck, if you want to hear what luck thinks about something, or the way I express my feelings, or whatever how I view things, you got to go here. You got to come to the source. You know what I'm saying? So it's. I just been thinking about that, and the podcast bubble, whether you see it or not, it's about to burst, or maybe it's burst, maybe it's burst already. I think everybody's doing it, and people are just like, "Yo, this." It's almost like we're not even looking for good content anymore. People are just looking for like drama, or like, what's the latest on the news? Is Drake and Kendrick still beefing, or is the what is who fighting who? Oh, these two podcast dudes are into it. Oh, they fighting on a we're all like fake, like fighting each other for like clips and views, and then if we, I don't want to be a part of that rodeo. I just don't, you know. In my last pod, really, I got to thinking. Right, my last show, whatever the hell you want to call this, it really got me to thinking. Right, so I went in of didn't have obviously topics or anything, whatever, or maybe it started on something else, and then I went into this drug history thing, whatever you want to call it, and it was off on a tandem, but it was me for real. My real emotions, what I thought about that. I thought I was breaking down like the core some things, or maybe show a little grace in the way we see things, the way we see people and their vices, their elements. And if we're talking about the grand scheme of like the world podcasting and doing live streaming daily, like I'm pretty sure what I talked about out of 5,000, 5 million, whatever podcasts or live streams, maybe I was only one or two that discussed that in that kind of way. For me, I think that's dope because it wasn't intentional. I was just talking. And then that conversation carried, and really it carried me a little much where I got a little overwhelmed, I think, at the end. It's why I ended it the way I did. I was a little overwhelmed by the thought of it all. I was deep into the topic of what I was talking about. And you can't help but to carry that if you come from it. Right. So for me, I was a little overwhelmed and I had to kind of like, let Let me just get offline. But also, you can only come here to see that. And the choice I made in doing that. Or the choice I made to keep going. You can reel it all in and be like, all right, let me stick to the topic. Let me go back to what's going on in rap today and who sued who fighting and who doing that. I could have did that. But sometimes you let the flow take over and it leads to some good content. Arguably, that's debatable if it's good content or not, but at least it was original. You had to come here to get it. So I think that I do think with live streaming, I think that's the wave, right? Not that I'm not saying live streaming is the wave, like I'm trying to say something new that's already been a thing. I'm saying in the way of sometimes just letting your thoughts fly. What's on your mind today? I think in that regard, right? It's like everybody has a podcast or a live stream thing, and they come with topics or they have a specific niche they talk about. Excuse me, damn. Maybe they're into like watches or like photography or like rap music, rap battles, who's the drum, what's the pop culture of the day, right? So there's a bunch of different things people do in a moment. But what's on your mind today? That has nothing to do with anything social media, or you could take something from social media and break it down in a real life way of how you see it and how it's applied to your life or not. I think that's more so the wave. That's more so like people are going to get into that. Why would I go? Why would I keep going to mind you, it's not a shot at them because it's obviously a huge podcast, but I keep going to a Joe Budden to see what they think about the same topic that everybody else think about. Why would I go to Joe Budden to see that? Or why would I go to this person to see that? They all talking about the same thing. That's what was hot yesterday. Remember the Cat Williams interview dropped on Shannon Sharp podcast? Every podcast in the world and live stream in the world talked about that for the next 2 weeks. When Drake and Kendrick did their battle thing, man, content creators got rich in that year. Just reviewing the battle over and over again. Every video was about Drake and Kendrick and what they dropped and reviewed and listened to the music and listened to the disc records. And they're all doing the same thing. How'd you even pick who you like to follow in that? And it's not a shot. Trust me, it's not a shot. I'm saying like they did what they were supposed to do, right? You know what I mean? Some of these niggas built their career, got their career up in that. Followers, hella subscribers, and making a living right now because of the community they built from watching those battles and kind of like reviewing on it. So it's not a shot. I'm just saying who's going to be the person to stand out? Who's going to be the person to be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this over here. And that road sometimes is a lonely road. Sometimes it's dark. It ain't as glitz and glamorous as the other road is. It's tough. You by yourself. Excuse me. You'll make a lot of money. It doesn't turn out like that. The views and the watch hours don't turn up like that. Long grind for that. But are you willing to take it? Are you willing to build that out? Because it's one thing to have 200 something followers, 200 something thousand followers, and then your views are getting like 50. Let me say like anywhere from 5 to 10,000 views. Maybe something crazy sounds like 20, 30,000 views a video. You know what I'm saying? Like you got 200 something, almost 300,000 followers, and you get anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20,000 views. Something's not connecting. I'm not saying it's a failure, you're gonna get paid, right? But I'm saying like something isn't connecting. I feel like when I build up here, when I build up all this stuff, I feel like it's a long road to build a tight-knit community, and the numbers are going to be a little more realistic to how the time and effort in the slow grind of what this is. And then at the end of the day, like I said, I get to look in the mirror and be like, I'm just doing me. I didn't feel like I was into all the drama, and I wasn't a part of that. Because you can do that and then get the money. It's not, first of all, it's not guaranteed. You can talk about all the crazy stuff and then get the money. It's not a guarantee. It just helps if you're into what everybody else is into, follow the trend. But for the person who do stand out, that road is lonely. But if he or she ever sees like crack the success of what that takes to do, speak your mind, come up with stuff out your own brain, deal with that, break it down, be vulnerable, be transparent, and then that spill out in that kind of way, and the people show up because you've been doing you, and they can trust you to do you, so they come here to get some authenticity and something that the world can't supply them with because there's only one you, and you're gonna make sure you do you. So because if they want this, they can't go nowhere else. They got to come to you. That's a win. That's a win. You know, and I'm not gonna lie, it's tough too because when you work and you got stuff going on. Technically, I got like what 4 different jobs. Technically, and one pays consistently. The other are like trying to hustle and grind, and then hopefully to pay you back. It isn't guaranteed, but you got to believe in it because you know one day it's gonna pay you back. So for me to get on here and tell myself what I'm not going to do. So the old saying beggars can't be choosers, right? Yeah, I mean I understand that, but also it's like you got to go through something if you want to get to a place where nobody ever gone before. You got to go through something nobody ever went through before, right? You got to kind of the struggle and the fight's gonna be a little different, So I don't want. Look, man, it's crazy. For just even here, right when it comes to like talking about topics and such. So I didn't get to see my man Rios, who that's my brother. For the people who don't know, got a cat named Ace Boy Rios, who's my guy, who helped me a lot with live streaming and how to even do this shit, right? So he does a wake up show early in the morning, right before I do mine. Could you imagine if Rios, which I don't think you do, sometimes maybe, but if Rios picked a hot topic that was all in the vlogs or whatever to talk about, and then I come right behind him on the show, pause, and on my show, and I talk about the same topic. We both covering the same. You know what I mean? It's all about, do you have that patience and that resilience to buckle down and keep going? Do you have the fight in you and the faith to believe it's going to work? I don't wrestle with it no more. I used to wrestle with it. Right? I used to be like, man, I don't have the time to not believe it's going to work or not. You need something guaranteed, which is why a lot of times people don't move in certain places, right? Move in certain areas. I remember 2016. I bought my first piece of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum for people who know cryptocurrency. 2016. I was in San Diego for my birthday. My wife had took me to San Diego, and we were in San Diego. I was in a room, and I was buying my first piece of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, right? And in that, um, I was telling one of my other friends who, a friend got a lot of money, right? So I'm telling him like, "Yo, they put you on game about cryptocurrency. This is this and that, whatever, that, this and all these things." And I said at the time, Bitcoin was $6,000. 2016, it was $5,000 or $6,000 a coin. And I was telling him, like, yo, I think you should do this. Bitcoin's gonna be huge. Don't listen to me. Here's the research, here's the stuff. You can go go this website, YouTube this person, all these things, right? And he was like, man, I know, man, but I need a guarantee, which I understood. You know what I mean? Hell, it's one thing to try to learn stocks for somebody who don't know. Imagine trying to learn cryptocurrency behind that. You know what I mean? Somebody really gonna put up a fight. But I told him, like, man, not even a couple of years after that, it started going up a little bit. I started talking to him like, man, I said, man, $6,000 is nothing for you. I'm not trying to count his money, but it's my man. I know he got bread. Like, it's bruh, just buy one. Just buy one and take my word on it. It's gonna cost you that $6,000 or nothing. Just buy one and take my word on. Just hold it. He never did it. You know what I mean? Never wanted to. You know what I mean? And you just kind of like I, you know, somebody got to stand on something, believe something, have faith about something, and they're not wrong for that because I can't make them think or believe how I believe in something, right? But sometimes you got to stand on something, and you got to be the outlier. You got to be the dude that look crazy sometimes. To be like, look, man, this is the way. Fast forward today, look at Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? And we talk, Dad, we laugh about it. Like, bro, you tried to tell me when, you know what I mean? We laugh, excuse me, we laugh and talk about it, but you know, um, somebody got to stand out and stand apart. You know what I mean? For those who don't know, um, that's what being holy is about. Not to go into scripture or anything, but to be holy is to be set apart, right? So when you say people are acting, or you think you holy, yeah, hopefully, I'm trying to be set apart, trying to be set apart in a good way. You know what I mean? But super chats out to my good brothers Kevin Finley and my good brother Shaq with the super chats. Kevin Finley, salute my good brother. Appreciate you always, man. Thank you, my good brother. And my guy Shaq. My guy Shaq says, oh, let me see. Okay, hold up. Oh, he says, you think the world flat or round? Keep grinding and keep your head up above the storms and winds of the world. Hey, I don't think I know the world is round. I'm not a flat earther. You know what I mean? If some of you are, I hope you're not disappointed. Um, I think there's enough proof, enough scientific evidence, enough proof and enough scientific evidence to prove that the world is round. I'm not a flat earther. I don't clown flat earthers. I don't, I don't jump into jokes about it or anything. I think there's enough evidence for me to believe that the world is round. And so I do have a couple of flat earther friends. I don't clown them about it. Like, they just think what they think. They clown me about it, but whatever it is, what it is. But no, yeah, things around. Um, but I appreciate the words from both of you guys. Kev with the salute, man. Always, Kev always showing me some love, tapping in with me, checking on me. Salute to you, my good brother. Appreciate you. Especially he be doing it while he at work also, so I appreciate that. And Shaq, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, man, for tapping in. I'll definitely keep grinding. I'll definitely keep my head above the storms, man, for sure. So I appreciate that. Shaq, and I just found out the Shaq is a flat earther. And that's fine, my brother. That's fine. That's fine. I appreciate the you letting us in on that. See, this channel is about being being transparent, being vulnerable. Shaq just let us all know in public and out loud that the earth was flat. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I don't believe that, but I believe that, what I mean? Maybe I'm a little bit old school. Now, well, I don't believe that man has made it to space. I don't believe that. I don't believe that man has stepped on Mars. I don't believe that. I mean, made it to space. Yeah, that's technical. I don't believe the man landed on the moon. Is what I'm saying. I don't believe the man has landed stepped foot on the moon. I don't believe that. Not 1 second. Not one part of it. But outside of that, though, the Earth is round. I appreciate you, good brothers, though, man. But yeah, so for those of you just tapping in, man, I was going in on not going in. I was just talking about how I used to be hard on myself because I have topics sometimes, and I first of all I have 9 times out of 10 I have topics. Not today. 9 times out of 10 I have topics I want to talk about. But I get into the conversation, I talk back and forth with the community, and I get off on a tangent about something else, about a bunch of other things. But I think also this is what makes my live stream what it is. I don't think you guys well, you can't, because most of the time I don't think you guys are looking for me to talk about the whatever's hot in pop culture or whatever. And if so, I mean, you'll mention it there and I'll discuss it, right? Like it's like my man Shaq just did. He hit me with the flat Earth, round Earth conversation, which I of course appreciate. But I don't, I don't want my podcast to start to look like. And first of all, let me stop saying podcast. It's not what this is. I don't want my live stream to look like and sound like everybody else's live stream. So my fight within self is always like topic or no topic, right? But I think having these random conversations about my thoughts and then we go back and forth and that springs a bunch of other conversation, in my opinion, makes for a better live stream and a better community because you got to get this here and everybody else ain't talking about what we talking about. Hell, we did a whole live stream last week on, not even last week, the other day on crack cocaine. And it definitely didn't start off like that. How we even got there is already a thing, but the fact that we can and kind of let that flow out and it be what it be, to me, that's dope. Now, I mean, I'm looking at it's 2020 hindsight, right? I'm looking back and thinking how dope it was.